Hello there and welcome to Gemstone Academy. Tonight we're talking about diamonds. Yes, those sparkly little carbon crystals that marketing has convinced us are the ultimate symbol of eternal love, which is a bit odd when you consider they're often mined in conditions that are anything but loving and can be created in a lab in just a matter of weeks. But, let's put that aside for a moment. The real issue is that when you decide to spend a frankly absurd amount of money on a tiny, shiny rock, you expect to get exactly what you paid for. Unfortunately, the diamond industry, much like a first date who says they love the outdoors but means they once had a beer on a patio, can be rife with misrepresentation. The global diamond market is a glittering multi-billion-dollar behemoth stretching from the mines of Africa to the glittering showrooms of Fifth Avenue. It's an industry built on trust, mystique, and the promise of rarity. But beneath that polished surface lies a world of sophisticated scams designed to part you from your hard-earned cash. We're talking about everything from sleight-of-hand stone switching in the back rooms of repair shops to high-tech forgeries of grading certificates that would make a master art counterfeiter blush. It's a dazzling web of deceit, and falling into it can be devastatingly easy. So tonight, we're going to pull back the velvet curtain. We'll explore the most common and cunning diamond frauds, from the bustling diamond districts of Antwerp and Mumbai to the anonymous wilderness of the internet. More importantly, we'll arm you with the knowledge and tools you need to protect yourself. Because buying a diamond should be a moment of joy, not the beginning of a story that ends with you discovering your precious heirloom has the same authenticity as a $3 bill. Stay with us because this is important. Let's begin with a classic. A trick so old it was probably practiced on pebbles by our cave-dwelling ancestors stone switching. It's depressingly simple and brutally effective. You take your beloved diamond ring, perhaps an heirloom from your grandmother or the symbol of your engagement, to a jeweler for a routine cleaning or a minor repair like retipping a prong. You trust them. Why wouldn't you? They have a storefront, nice lighting, and they probably offered you a tiny bottle of water. You are, in that moment, a perfect target. While your ring is in the back, away from your prying eyes, the switch happens. A technician, with the dexterity of a Vegas card sharp, deftly removes your high-quality, valuable diamond and replaces it with a stone of significantly lower value. It might be a diamond with poor clarity and color, a synthetic stone, or even a convincing simulant like cubic zirconia or moissanite. To the untrained eye, especially under the forgiving glow of showroom lights, the difference is almost impossible to spot. You get your ring back, it's sparkling clean, and you leave, blissfully unaware that you've just been robbed in plain sight. This isn't some niche back alley scam, it's a known risk in some of the world's most famous diamond hubs. Think of the Diamond District in New York, the historic Diamond Quarter in Antwerp, or the bustling exchanges in Mumbai. These are places where billions of dollars in diamonds change hands every day, and where the sheer volume of transactions can provide cover for unscrupulous dealers. The scam preys on the public's general lack of gemological knowledge and our inherent trust in professionals. It's a violation that's not just financial but deeply personal. The financial loss can be staggering. A 2-carat, D-color, internally flawless diamond can be worth upwards of $100,000, while a visually similar-sized stone with poor grades might be worth only a few thousand. The jeweler pockets your valuable stone to be sold on the black market and profits immensely from your trust. The only way to truly protect yourself is to know your stone intimately, perhaps by having a plot of its inclusions mapped on its certificate, but we'll get more into the power of paperwork later. For now, just know that letting your diamond out of your sight is like letting a magician borrow your watch. You might not get the same one back. Next up is a fraud that's less about outright theft and more about the art of the embellishment, the misrepresentation of quality. This is where a seller, with the persuasive charm of a seasoned politician, convinces you that the stone you're buying is a veritable superstar of the diamond world, when in reality, it's more of a bench warmer. They do this by playing fast and loose with the 4 C's, carat, color, clarity, and cut. They'll tell you a diamond is 1 grade when it's actually 2, 3, or even 4 grades lower. This is particularly rampant in markets with less stringent regulations or where tourists are abundant and looking for a deal. Think of the glittering gold souks of Dubai, the packed jewelry shops of Hong Kong, or the gem markets of Bangkok. Here, you might be presented with a diamond under carefully controlled lighting conditions. These aren't just any lights, they are specifically chosen to mask undesirable yellow tints in a stone, making a J-color diamond look more like a much more valuable G-color. They can also be positioned to minimize the visibility of inclusions, making a cloudy Si2 stone appear as clean as a VVS one. The language used is also a key part of the deception. Instead of providing a certificate from a reputable, internationally recognized lab, the seller might use vague, subjective terms. They'll call the color fine white or the clarity eye clean, terms that have no standardized meaning and are essentially worthless. They might even provide an in-house appraisal or a certificate from an obscure local lab with notoriously lax grading standards, which is about as reassuring as a pilot announcing he got his license from a box of cereal. It's all designed to create an illusion of quality and value that simply isn't there. The result is that you pay a premium price for a mediocre stone. You might walk away thinking you got a fantastic deal on a high-quality diamond, only to have your bubble burst years later when you take it for an independent appraisal. The difference of a few color or clarity grades can translate to thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars in lost value. It's a slow burn scam, one where the victim often doesn't realize they've been had until long after the seller has vanished into the bustling crowds of the marketplace. Now we move from deceptive words to deceptive documents, with fake certifications and laser inscriptions. In the legitimate diamond world, a grading report from a lab like the Gemological Institute of America or GIA is a diamond's passport. It's a detailed scientific document that validates its identity and quality. Scammers, knowing how much trust buyers place in these documents, have become adept at forging them. This isn't just a matter of a shoddy photocopy. We're talking about high-quality fakes with replicated holograms, watermarks, and security features that can fool even a discerning eye. The goal here is often to pass off a synthetic lab-grown diamond as a natural mined one. A natural diamond certificate for a 1-carat stone can be paired with a visually identical lab-grown stone. The fraudster buys the synthetic diamond for a fraction of the cost of its natural counterpart, presents it with the forged or stolen certificate, and sells it for the full price of a natural diamond, pocketing a colossal profit margin. This is a high-tech deception that has become a significant problem in major trading centers like New York, London, and Tel Aviv, where the stakes are incredibly high. Another layer to this scam involves the laser inscription. Reputable labs often inscribe a microscopic serial number onto the girdle of the diamond, which corresponds to the number on its certificate. Fraudsters have found ways to either counterfeit this inscription or, more brazenly, remove the original inscription from a natural diamond and reinscribe it onto a synthetic one. This requires sophisticated laser equipment and a steady hand, but for a potential profit of tens of thousands of dollars on a single stone, the motivation is certainly there. It's a meticulous, calculated fraud designed to defeat the very systems put in place to protect consumers. The danger here is twofold. First, there's the obvious financial loss. You've paid a natural diamond price for a lab-grown product that is worth significantly less. Second, it undermines the entire system of trust that the diamond industry relies on. When you can no longer trust the certificate in your hand or the inscription on the stone itself, how can you be sure of anything? It forces buyers into a state of permanent skepticism and highlights the need for multi-layered verification, because the paper trail, once the gold standard of security, can now be a carefully constructed road to ruin. Let's talk about enhancements, which sounds like a positive thing, doesn't it? It sounds like you're getting something extra. But in the diamond world, enhancement can be a euphemism for a treatment that artificially improves a stone's appearance, and if it's not disclosed, it's fraud. The most common type is clarity enhancement, a process used on diamonds that are riddled with natural inclusions or fractures. The goal is to make these flaws less visible, thereby making the stone appear to be of a higher clarity grade than it actually is. One popular method is fracture filling. This involves injecting a microscopic amount of a glass-like resin into the tiny surface-reaching cracks within a diamond. The resin has a refractive index similar to that of a diamond, which makes the fracture much harder to see. Another method is laser drilling, where a high-powered laser is used to bore a microscopic tunnel to a dark inclusion deep within the stone. The inclusion is then vaporized or bleached with acid, leaving a faint white mark or a tunnel instead of a dark spot. Both treatments can dramatically improve a stone's visual appeal. The problem isn't the treatment itself, it's the deception. An enhanced diamond is fundamentally less valuable and less durable than an untreated stone of the same apparent clarity. The filling can discolor or degrade over time, and it can be damaged by heat from a jeweler's torch, or even ultrasonic cleaners. A seller who offers a clarity-enhanced diamond without explicitly disclosing the treatment is committing fraud. They are selling you a compromised stone at the price of a natural, untreated one. This is a particularly prevalent issue in markets like New York and Tel Aviv, where cutting and treatment facilities are common. You might be sold a diamond that looks like a VS2 but is, in reality, a heavily fractured I1 grade stone that has been cosmetically altered. The price difference is not trivial, it's a chasm. The seller is banking on the fact that the average buyer and even some jewelers may not have the expertise or equipment to detect these sophisticated treatments. It's the diamond equivalent of buying a house with a beautifully painted wall, only to find out later that the paint is hiding a massive, crumbling crack in the foundation. The beauty is only skin deep and the value is a mirage. So far we've focused on the big show-stopping center stones. But what about the little guys? The tiny diamonds known in the trade as melee, that often adorn the band of a ring or form a halo around the main stone. These small stones, typically under 1/5 of a carat, are the unsung heroes of jewelry design, but they are also a fraudster's best friend. Because they are so small and numerous, they are incredibly difficult to track and test individually, creating a perfect opportunity for scams. One of the most common melee scams is salting. A parcel of hundreds or thousands of natural melee diamonds will be mixed or salted with undisclosed, lab-grown or simulant stones. When a jeweler or manufacturer buys this parcel, they assume they are getting all natural diamonds. Without testing every single tiny stone, a time-consuming and expensive process, it's nearly impossible to spot the fakes. These mixed parcels are then used to create jewelry that is sold to the public as being set with entirely natural diamonds. You, the final customer, are paying a premium for a product that is partially synthetic. This isn't a small-time grift, it can be fraud on an industrial scale. A now infamous case in New York's Diamond District illustrates this perfectly. A major melee supplier was accused of systematically selling parcels of diamonds mixed with undisclosed lab-grown stones to jewelers and designers across the country. The fraud was estimated to be worth around $9 million. The deception was only uncovered when some jewelers became suspicious and started using advanced screening devices on their incoming melee parcels, revealing the synthetic stones mixed within. The traceability of melee is the core of the problem. Unlike larger stones, they are rarely, if ever, individually certified or inscribed. They are traded in bulk, often in sealed bags, with their value based on weight and an assumed average quality. This anonymity and volume make them the perfect vehicle for laundering undisclosed synthetics into the natural diamond pipeline. So, while you might have spent weeks scrutinizing the certificate for your center stone, the dozens of smaller stones surrounding it could be a complete mystery, a sparkling testament to a fraud that is as widespread as it is difficult to detect. Let's move away from the physical storefronts and into the wild west of commerce, the internet, and the telephone. Here, fraudsters don't need a fancy showroom or a convincing smile, they just need a slick website, a persuasive voice, and a victim's trust. Telemarketing and online scams are global, insidious, and have left countless buyers with little more than a worthless rock and a deep sense of regret. It often starts with a cold call or an enticing online ad promising an investment-grade diamond at an unbelievably low price. The pitch is always compelling. The seller might claim to have access to wholesale prices, or that they are selling off assets from a liquidated estate. They build a rapport, create a sense of urgency, and promise incredible returns. You're not just buying jewelry, they'll say, you're making a smart financial investment. To seal the deal, they often offer a buyback or resale policy, promising to purchase the diamond back from you at a profit after a certain period. This sounds like a risk-free proposition, a guaranteed win. Of course, it's anything but. Once you agree and your payment is processed, one of two things happens. You might receive a diamond that is drastically lower in quality than what was described, a cloudy yellowed stone accompanied by a worthless appraisal from a non-existent institute. Or in some cases you might receive nothing at all. When you try to contact the company to complain or enact that wonderful buyback policy, you'll find the phone number is disconnected, the website has vanished, and the company has ceased to exist. They were a ghost, a phantom entity created for the sole purpose of taking your money. The anonymity of the internet makes these scams particularly difficult to fight. The sellers are often located in different countries using shell corporations and untraceable payment methods. They prey on those who are less familiar with the diamond market, particularly elderly individuals looking for a safe investment. The promise of a high-value, tangible asset is incredibly alluring, but the reality is a complete fabrication. It's a cruel hoax that leaves victims with no product, no money, and no recourse. Alright. After that parade of horribles, you'd be forgiven for wanting to store your money in a mattress and never look at a shiny object again. But fear not, there are powerful defenses in this fight. The single most important weapon in your arsenal is a legitimate grading report from a top-tier, reputable gemological laboratory. I'm talking about the big three, the GIA, IGI, and AGS. These organizations are the gold standard for a reason. Think of these labs as the supreme court of the diamond world. They are independent, non-profit, at least in the case of GIA and AGS, and have no financial stake in the sale of the diamond they are grading. Their job is to provide an unbiased, scientific assessment of a diamond's qualities. Their reports are incredibly detailed, mapping out the 4 C's with scientific precision. They don't use fluffy language like pretty or sparkly, they use standardized, universally understood grades for color, clarity, and cut. This creates a common language that allows consumers to accurately compare stones and understand their true value. Crucially, these reports contain security features to prevent tampering and forgery. They have holograms, microprinting, and unique report numbers. And as we mentioned, most labs now offer a laser inscription service, etching that report number onto the diamond's girdle. This creates a direct physical link between the stone and its corresponding report. You can, and absolutely should, verify this yourself with a jeweler's loupe or microscope before purchasing. It's a bit like checking the VIN on a car to make sure it matches the title. Furthermore, these labs have robust online databases. You can go to the GIA or IGI website, enter the report number from your certificate, and instantly pull up a digital copy of the report, confirming that it is legitimate and hasn't been altered. Some labs are even introducing services that provide instant on-the-spot verification through retailers. This level of transparency is a direct countermeasure to the fakes and forgeries we discussed earlier. Insisting on a certificate from one of these top labs isn't being difficult, it's being smart. It's the difference between buying a diamond and buying a story. If a paper certificate is the diamond's passport, then blockchain is its unforgeable digital birth certificate that follows it from cradle to grave. For those of you whose eyes just glazed over, stick with me. Blockchain technology, the same stuff that powers cryptocurrencies, is essentially a decentralized digital ledger. Each transaction or movement of a diamond is recorded as a block of data, which is then cryptographically linked to the previous block, forming a chain. This chain is distributed across thousands of computers, making it virtually impossible to alter or tamper with retroactively. Platforms like Tracker, developed by De Beers and Everledger, are pioneering this technology for the diamond industry. Here's how it works. When a rough diamond is unearthed, it's scanned, analyzed, and given a unique digital identity. This identity, along with data about its origin, size, and quality, becomes the first block in the chain. As the diamond moves through the supply chain, from the mine to the cutter to the polisher to the jeweler, every step of its journey is recorded as a new, time-stamped block. This creates an immutable, transparent, and auditable record of the diamond's entire life story. The benefit for you, the consumer, is unprecedented transparency. Using a QR code or an app, you can scan your diamond certificate and instantly access its entire history. You can see which mine it came from, where it was cut and polished, and confirm that it followed a legitimate path to the market. This is a powerful tool against fraud. It makes it incredibly difficult for a fraudster to swap a stone or introduce a synthetic diamond into the supply chain, because the synthetic stone wouldn't have the corresponding verifiable blockchain history. This technology directly addresses the issue of conflict diamonds and misrepresentation of origin. By providing a clear, unchangeable record, it gives you confidence that your diamond is not only what the seller claims it is in terms of quality, but also that it was sourced ethically. While it's still an emerging technology and not yet universally adopted, it represents a massive leap forward in securing the diamond pipeline. It's moving the industry from a system based on trust and paper to one based on cryptographic proof and digital certainty. In the late 1990s, the world woke up to the horrific reality of conflict diamonds, or blood diamonds, stones mined in war zones and sold to fund conflicts, insurgency, and human rights abuses. The global outcry led to the establishment of the Kimberley Process Certification Scheme, or KPCS, in 2003. This is a joint initiative between governments, the diamond industry, and civil society, designed to act as a global gatekeeper to prevent the flow of conflict diamonds into the mainstream market. The way it's supposed to work is that participating countries can only legally trade rough diamonds with other member countries. Each shipment of rough diamonds crossing an international border must be transported in a tamper-resistant container and accompanied by a government-validated Kimberley Process certificate. This certificate states that the diamonds are conflict-free. In theory, this system should quarantine conflict diamonds and choke off the funding for any warlords who exploit them. It represents a monumental effort in international cooperation to address a serious ethical problem. And for a while, the KPCS was hailed as a major success, credited with reducing the trade in conflict diamonds from as much as 15% of the market down to less than 1%. It has undoubtedly saved lives and brought a greater degree of order to the rough diamond trade. However, the system is far from perfect, and it's important to understand its limitations. The definition of a conflict diamond under the KPCS is very narrow. It only covers diamonds used by rebel groups to finance wars against legitimate governments. It does not cover other serious human rights abuses, such as forced labor, violence by government forces, or environmental devastation. Furthermore, the KPCS is designed to track large parcels of rough diamonds, not individual polished stones. Once a parcel of rough diamonds is certified and imported into a cutting center, the trail effectively goes cold. The system has no mechanism for tracking the stones after they are cut and polished. And crucially for our discussion on fraud, it has major vulnerabilities when it comes to small stones, the Malay diamonds. Smugglers can easily mix small, conflict-sourced stones in with legitimate parcels, making them nearly impossible to trace. So while the Kimberley process is a vital step, it is not a foolproof guarantee of ethical sourcing or a defense against all forms of fraud. As fraudsters get more sophisticated, so too does the technology used to catch them. The front line of defense in the modern gem lab is advanced spectroscopy and imaging. These are not your grandfather's loupes and microscopes. This is high-tech, Bond villain-level equipment designed to see into the very soul of a diamond and reveal its secrets. It's how labs can definitively separate natural diamonds from their lab-grown counterparts and spot even the most subtle treatments. One of the key technologies is Fourier Transform Infrared Spectroscopy, or FTIR. That's a mouthful, so just think of it as a diamond's chemical fingerprint reader. Every diamond is made of carbon, but natural diamonds also contain trace amounts of other elements like nitrogen, which were incorporated as the diamond formed over billions of years. Lab-grown diamonds created in a controlled environment over a few weeks have a different, often purer chemical structure. FTIR can detect these minute differences in the atomic structure, allowing a lab to say with certainty whether a diamond is natural or synthetic. Then there's the imaging. Labs use high-resolution imaging systems to do things like map a diamond's inclusion plot. They create a detailed, unique diagram of a stone's internal and external characteristics, its birthmarks. This plot, which is included on the grading report, is as unique as a human fingerprint. This allows anyone to match a physical stone to its certificate, making stone switching significantly harder. If the inclusions in your stone don't match the plot on the report, you know you have a problem. This technology is also crucial for detecting treatments. For example, the resin used in fracture filling has a different spectral signature than diamond, which can be detected. Laser drill channels, no matter how small, can be seen under high magnification. Even advanced treatments like HPHT, which stands for high pressure, high temperature, and can be used to improve a diamond's color, leave behind subtle telltale signs in the crystal structure that advanced spectroscopic equipment can identify. This scientific arms race is essential. For every new trick a fraudster develops, the labs must develop a new test to expose it. We've touched on this, but let's dive deeper into the dark arts of forging certificates and inscriptions, because this is where fraudsters actively work to subvert the very systems designed to protect you. Creating a counterfeit grading report is not as simple as a quick trip to a copy shop. High-end fraudsters invest in the same types of paper, printing techniques, and even security features like holograms and watermarks used by legitimate labs. Their goal is to create a document that is visually indistinguishable from the real thing. They might obtain a legitimate report number from a real diamond, perhaps by looking it up online, and then create a fake certificate with that number, but with inflated grades. They then pair this convincing fake document with a low-quality stone. When a potential buyer checks the number on the lab's website, it will pull up a legitimate report. However, that report corresponds to a completely different high-quality diamond that the buyer has never seen. The fraud relies on the buyer not inspecting the stone closely enough to see that its characteristics, like its inclusion plot, don't match the report's details. Another insidious tactic is the use of reports from obscure or soft labs. A seller might present a diamond with a certificate from, let's say, the European Gemological Consortium, which sounds official but is actually a for-profit lab with notoriously lenient grading standards. What this lab calls a G color and a VS1 clarity, a reputable lab like GIA would likely grade as a J color and an SI2 clarity. The certificate isn't technically fake, but it's profoundly misleading, designed to inflate the stone's perceived value by using a biased grading scale. Altering laser inscriptions is the next level of this deception. A fraudster might take a low-quality natural diamond that is uninscribed, and laser inscribe it with the report number of a much higher quality stone. Or even more brazenly, they might use advanced laser techniques to carefully polish off the original inscription from a high-quality stone after its certificate has been stolen, and then reinscribe it with a new, fake number that corresponds to a forged certificate for a lab-grown stone. This is meticulous, high-stakes fraud that requires skill and specialized equipment, turning a key security feature into a tool of deception. Let's revisit those tiny Malay diamonds because the ways they are exploited deserve a closer look. The core of the problem is the breakdown of traceability at a small scale. While a 1-carat center stone is scrutinized, tested, and certified, the 50 smaller stones on the ring's band often get a pass. This creates a gaping hole in the supply chain that fraudsters gleefully drive a truck through. The most common exploit, as we've said, is mixing undisclosed lab-grown stones with natural ones. Consider a high-end watch, its bezel encrusted with dozens of tiny diamonds, or a lavish pave-set ring that looks like its surface is paved with diamond dust. A manufacturer might order a parcel of 1,000 natural Malay stones from a supplier. The supplier, either knowingly or unknowingly, provides a parcel where 10 to 20% of the stones are synthetic. These synthetics cost a fraction of the price of natural diamonds but are visually identical without advanced testing. The manufacturer sets these stones into the jewelry, which is then sold to a retailer and finally to you, as all natural. The economic incentive is massive. If a fraudster can substitute 20% of the natural Malay in the global supply with synthetics, they stand to make billions of dollars, and detection is a nightmare. A jeweler would need to use a screening device on every single piece of paved jewelry they receive. This requires time, investment in equipment, and training. Many smaller retailers simply don't have the resources, so they rely on trust in their suppliers, a trust that is frequently betrayed. The deception is passed down the line until it reaches the final customer. This isn't just about lab-grown stones. Low-quality natural diamonds can also be used deceptively. A parcel might be sold as having an average color of G, but a dishonest supplier might mix in a significant number of H and I color stones, lowering the overall cost and quality without being immediately obvious. Because Malay is graded in bulk ranges rather than individually, there's a lot of wiggle room to exploit. The result is that the glittering halo on your ring or the sparkle on your watch might be hiding a secret, a composite of deception, built one tiny untraceable stone at a time. So, we've talked about blockchain as this shining beacon of transparency, this unbreakable digital ledger, and well, it is a powerful tool, but like any security system, it's only as good as the information that is put into it. A fraudster can't break the chain, but they can try to corrupt it at the source. This is the garbage in, garbage out principle. If false data is entered into the blockchain at the very beginning of a diamond's journey, the entire immutable record becomes an immutable record of a lie. Now, imagine a scenario at a mine where a corrupt official has access to the blockchain input system. They could take a parcel of diamonds from a conflict zone, or an area with known human rights abuses and enter it into the system with a false point of origin, claiming it came from a reputable, ethically certified mine in, say, Canada or Botswana. Once that false data is entered as the first block, the blockchain will dutifully and securely record every subsequent step, creating a perfectly transparent and verifiable history that is, unfortunately, based on a foundational falsehood. The same principle applies to grading. A diamond could be sent to a complicit or lax grading lab before its data is entered onto the blockchain. This lab could assign inflated grades to the stone. These inflated grades are then entered as part of the diamond's initial digital identity. From that point on, the blockchain will forever carry and verify this fact that the diamond is a G color, even if it's truly an I color. The system is working perfectly to preserve the data, but the data itself is fraudulent. This highlights that technology, no matter how advanced, is not a panacea. It must be paired with robust human oversight, strict security protocols at every data entry point, and independent audits. Without these checks and balances, blockchain could be exploited to lend an air of high-tech legitimacy to old-fashioned fraud. It's like having the world's most secure vault to protect a forged painting. The vault is impenetrable, but the asset inside is still a fake. The battle for diamond security must be fought on both the digital and human fronts. We've discussed clarity enhancement, but let's broaden the scope to all undisclosed treatments because honestly, sellers have a whole menu of cosmetic procedures they can perform on a diamond to give it a facelift, all while hoping you never find out. These treatments fundamentally alter the stone and its value, and well, selling a treated diamond as untreated is one of the most common forms of deception in the industry. It's not just fracture filling and laser drilling, there are other, even more subtle methods. One major treatment is HPHT, which stands for high pressure, high temperature. This is essentially a process that mimics the natural conditions deep within the earth where diamonds form. It can be used to permanently improve the color of certain types of diamonds, turning a brownish or yellowish stone into a more desirable and valuable colorless or near colorless one. It can also be used to create fancy colors like pink or blue. While the treatment is stable, an HPHT-treated diamond is worth significantly less than a natural, untreated diamond of the same color. Non-disclosure is blatant fraud. Then there's coating. This is a less permanent but highly deceptive treatment where a micro-thin layer of a substance like silica is applied to the surface of a diamond. This coating can be used to mask an underlying yellow tint, making the stone appear whiter. It can also be used to create the appearance of a fancy-colored diamond. The problem is that these coatings are not durable. They can wear off over time or be scratched, revealing the stone's true, less valuable color. It's kind of like putting a cheap vinyl wrap on a car to hide a bad paint job. The motivation for all of this is, as always, money. A seller can buy a low-cost, brownish included diamond, have it treated with a combination of HPHT to improve the color and laser drilling to remove inclusions, and then sell it as a high-quality, untreated stone for a massive profit. They are exploiting a knowledge gap, betting that you won't know the right questions to ask, or that you won't get a second opinion from a qualified gemologist who can detect these alterations. It's a calculated deception that turns a cosmetically altered stone into a vehicle for financial fraud. Perhaps the most cynical form of fraud is one that leverages the very reputation of the legitimate market against you. Scammers don't always operate from shady fly-by-night websites. Sometimes they set up shop right in the heart of the world's most renowned diamond districts. They rent a respectable-looking office in New York, Antwerp, or Tel Aviv, surrounded by legitimate multi-generational businesses. They exploit the halo effect of their location, borrowing the credibility of their neighbors to lure you into a false sense of security. Here's how it works. You, a savvy buyer, know you should shop in a reputable district. So you go there. You enter an office that looks the part. The seller is well-dressed, knowledgeable, and speaks the industry language fluently. They show you a stone, along with what appears to be a legitimate certificate. The price is good, maybe even a little too good to be true, which they explain away with a plausible story about a special acquisition. You feel safe because you're in the right place. You are, in fact, in the perfect trap. To seal the deal and overcome any lingering doubt, the fraudster will often use a complicit appraiser. They'll say, "Look, don't take my word for it, let's go get it appraised. I know a guy just down the hall." They'll take you to a nearby appraiser who is in on the scam. This appraiser will examine the stone, the low-quality or synthetic stone you're being sold, and authoritatively confirm the inflated grades and value presented by the seller. This independent verification is often the final push that convinces a buyer to part with their money. This tactic is incredibly effective because it subverts the very due diligence that smart consumers are taught to perform. You sought out a reputable market. You got a second opinion from an appraiser. You did everything right, yet you still got scammed. The fraudster has weaponized the ecosystem of trust. They have built a Potemkin village of legitimacy within the real village, using their location and a network of accomplices to create an airtight illusion of authenticity. It's a reminder that geography is not a guarantee of integrity. Finally, let's look at how online and telemarketing scammers perfect the art of evasion. Their entire business model is built on being untraceable ghosts in the digital machine. They are masters of disguise, using pseudonyms, temporary phone numbers, and websites that can be put up and taken down in a matter of hours. This anonymity is their primary shield, making it nearly impossible for victims or law enforcement to find them once the scam is complete. When you buy from one of these phantom sellers, they create an illusion of a normal, professional transaction. They'll provide you with a tracking number for the shipment. However, this tracking number might be fake, leading to a dead end on the courier's website. Or it might be for a package that contains nothing of value. A particularly nasty trick involves sending the package, but requiring that it remains in its sealed, tamper-proof packaging if you want to be eligible for their money-back guarantee. The moment you open it to inspect the diamond, you've voided the policy. Of course, the diamond inside is worthless, and you have no recourse. They use a web of shell corporations and offshore bank accounts to launder the money. The payment you make to Prestige Diamond Investments in New York is immediately routed through 3 different companies in 3 different countries before landing in an account where it can't be clawed back. The customer service number you called connects to a voice-over IP service that could be routed from anywhere in the world. The friendly salesperson named David was likely a person in a call center thousands of miles away using a script. This entire infrastructure is designed for one purpose: to break the chain of accountability. In a physical store, there is a person, a lease, a business license, a trail to follow. Online, these scammers can operate with near total impunity. They can close one website on a Tuesday and open a new one with a different name on a Wednesday, using the same tactics to find a fresh batch of victims. It's a whack-a-mole problem on a global scale, and it highlights the extreme caution required when considering a significant purchase from an unknown entity online. So there you have it, a journey through the glittering and sometimes grimy world of diamond fraud. From the simple sleight of hand to complex digital deceptions, the methods are varied, sophisticated, and designed to prey on one thing: a lack of knowledge. The good news is that knowledge is a shield. By understanding these scams, you've already taken the most important step in protecting yourself. The key takeaway should be this: in a transaction involving thousands of dollars for a tiny object, trust must be earned, not given. Verify everything. The power is, believe it or not, in your hands. Insist on a recent grading report from a top-tier lab like GIA, IGI, or AGS. Use their online portals to verify the report number. Ask to see the laser inscription under a microscope and match it to the report. Be wary of deals that seem too good to be true, and never ever let yourself be rushed into a decision. A reputable jeweler will welcome your scrutiny. A scammer will try to create urgency and pressure. Your best defense is a healthy dose of skepticism combined with a commitment to independent verification. Ultimately, buying a diamond can and should be a wonderful experience. These remarkable stones are symbols of life's most important moments. By arming yourself with this information, you can navigate the market with confidence, ensuring that the diamond you choose is not only beautiful but also authentic, fairly represented, and a true store of the value, both emotional and financial, that you place in it. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Don't forget to subscribe to Gemstone Academy YouTube channel for more insights into the fascinating world of gemstones. Stay safe and stay sparkling.